The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which provides a shared roadmap for peace and prosperity for people and the planet both now and in the future, was adopted by all UN member states in 2015. At its core are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, a pressing call to action for both developed and developing countries to work together in a global partnership. They comprehend that in addition to eradicating poverty and other forms of deprivation, we must take action to protect our oceans and forests in order to combat climate change, improve health and education, reduce inequality, and foster economic growth. The Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, were created as a result of decades of work by countries and the UN, especially the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs. More than 178 countries endorsed Agenda 21 at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in June 1992. Agenda 21 is a comprehensive action plan to establish a global partnership for sustainable development to improve human well-being and protect the environment. The Millennium Declaration was overwhelmingly supported by member states at the Millennium Summit, which took place in September 2000 at UN headquarters in New York. 8 Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, that aim to eradicate extreme poverty by 2015 were established as a result of the summit. The Johannesburg Declaration on Sustainable Development and the Plan of Implementation, which were approved at the World Summit on Sustainable Development in South Africa, in 2002, both added to the Millennium Declaration and Agenda 21. It strengthened the importance of multilateral partnerships, while reiterating the commitment of the international community to environmental preservation and the abolition of poverty. In June 2012, at the Rio Plus 20 United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, member states adopted the outcome document. They made the decision to establish the UN High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, as well as to begin the process of developing a set of SDGs to build on the MDGs. Additional recommendations for future work programs in development financing, small island developing nations, and other areas were included in the Rio Plus 20 conclusion, as steps for implementing sustainable development. In order to develop a proposal for the SDGs, the General Assembly established a 30-member open working group in 2013. The post-2015 Development Agenda negotiations were launched by the General Assembly in January 2015. With the adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which is focused on 17 SDGs, at the UN Sustainable Development Summit in September 2015, the process came to an end. 2015 was a pivotal year for multilateralism and the creation of global policy, because a number of important agreements were adopted. March 2015, Framework for Sendai on Disaster Risk Reduction. Addis Abeba's Action Agenda for Financing Development, July 2015, Achieving Global Change. The UN Sustainable Development Summit in New York in September 2015 resulted in the adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which contains 17 SDGs. Climate Change Agreement of Paris, December 2015. The primary UN Forum for Monitoring and Evaluating the SDGs now takes place annually at the High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. A number of thematic concerns related to the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and Global Sustainable Development Goals, GSDGs, including those relating to water, energy, climate, oceans, urbanization, transport, science and technology, are currently being addressed. Partnerships, Small Island Development Report, GSDR, and the Division for Sustainable Development Goals, DSDG, of the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, UNDESA, provides developing countries with significant support and capacity building. The DSDG is a critical component of both the advocacy and outreach programs for the SDGs and the UN system-wide evaluation of the 2030 Agenda's implementation. To make the 2030 Agenda a reality, the SDGs must be widely adopted and lead to a strong commitment from all stakeholders to carry out the global goals. DSDG wants to make this interaction easier. The 10th of July 2023, the Sustainable Development Goals, by providing a clear assessment of the SDGs based on the most recent data and projections, the Sustainable Development Goals Report 2023 Special Edition makes a strong case for action. The report highlights the enormous potential for success with strong political will and the use of readily available technology, resources, and knowledge, while also highlighting the current shortcomings and urging the international community to intensify its efforts. The SDGs can be revitalized by the global community, paving the way for a better future for all. Finally, Consumer Trading Organization Limited will host additional concepts.